Hello and welcome to the Barcast. I'm your host, nsbarr. Let's get right into it. It's an exciting time for chess. We've got AlphaZero and the advent of AI. We've got the cultural explosion, Queen's Gambit, and then we've got the world's best chess players making a living by streaming their games. And it's that streaming quality that I want to talk about today. It's really rich for exploration because when you think about it, the quality of chess instruction has never been higher. Where in the past you could maybe read a book by a chess expert, analyze a chess expert's games. Now you get to do all that, plus you actually get to be inside the head of a chess expert. But some heads are more legible than others. Two of the best chess players in the world, Hikaru Nakamura and Magnus Carlsen, are not particularly illuminating when it comes to watching their chess game. You can marvel at it, but it's a little bit like magic. It's a little bit of a black box. How did they do that? In contrast, there's one GM who we're going to look at today, Daniel Naroditsky, nicknamed Danya, who is, to my money, perhaps the best reflective practitioner in the world, to use some jargon with you. That is to say, I don't know anyone who explains their craft as they practice their craft as well as Danya. We're going to see that by watching 3 videos of his, clips from 3 videos that he streams on Twitch and on YouTube. And I selected these clips because they show Danya at work at 3 different levels. He models competent chess player thinking, proficient chess player thinking, and finally expert chess player thinking. And what I want to do is really go deep on what's happening here so we can get a better sense of this craft itself, this meta craft of reflection in action. So let's take a look at the first clip. And in this clip, Danya is reasoning about whether it's a good idea for white to exchange its bishop for the black knight. Let's have a look.
So white can go bishop f4, knight e2, these types of moves, or white can trade on c6, which has the effect of ruining black's queenside pawn structure, but on the other hand, it gives black the bishop pair, and it gives us a monopoly on the light squares. Why are the...
So let's just pause right there. Notice how much jargon Danya is using. Ruining the queenside pawn structure, having the bishop pair, having a monopoly on the white squares. Here he's rendering visible the kinds of heuristics and strategies that an intermediate player may use. You can look at the chessboard and reason about which of those conditions is desirable, which is already in place.
Why are the light squares important here? Hopefully you can see why they're important or how they could be important. Look at all these squares. These squares are easily accessible to our bishop, and they're quite weak.
So here notice the method of inquiry. Why are the white squares important? Why are the white squares weak? And also notice, just from a tooling perspective, how Danya is able to illuminate the kind of processing that would normally happen inside his head on the board through chess.com's tooling, where you can draw arrows and highlight squares.
And why are they weak? Because white played this move g3. We can also entrench our bishop on d5, or after bishop takes c6, b takes c6, we have an additional pathway that has opened up to a6, which can be a pretty enticing square as well. Full disclosure, I don't remember what white's best move is here.
So that's an early intermediate stage of reflecting that Danya is actually modeling for us here. I can guarantee you that Danya wouldn't actually reason that way at his level. And this is part of the reason that he's such a great reflective practitioner, is he's able to model and embody different levels of reflecting. Let's take a step up in difficulty and see Danya reason sort of this mid-game scenario. He's playing a stronger player who's been defending well, but Danya really feels like he's got a winning move here. He just hasn't figured out where the winning move is.
This must be the move. And then we just need to find...
I'm actually going to reload this because I don't think that I started from the beginning.
Oh, we might have a tactic. Knight c3, I think we have a win. I think rook takes was a mistake. So what's the...
So I already noticed how much more involved Danya is. He's involved in winning. He's involved in there being an error that needs to be punished. He thinks that there must be a tactic. A tactic is some sort of sharp attack, maybe a trick involved.
What's the move after knight c3? I didn't see this move for some reason until just now. It's simple. The knight is in trouble. Now, some of you might say, oh, we have bishop e5, but no, we don't, because the knight on f3 stares at the pawn. But we have the move rook to d3 attacking the knight. And the knight doesn't have any good squares. If knight a4, we have a beautiful winning tactic. If he plays it, we'll go through it. The most resilient move is rook c1, but then that rook on c1 can be harassed by the bishop. We can play bishop f4, or some of you might notice that we have an exchange sacrifice on f3, after which the king is wide open, and there might be checkmate. But rook c1 is definitely resilient. Rook c1 is definitely resilient.
So we're seeing Daniel go through this emotional roller coaster is too strong, the process where he felt this ocean of possibilities in terms of breaking the game wide open for black. And now he's starting to say, one is resilient. And now he's not so sure if he sees the winning response to RC1. Throughout this, we're going to remember that his initial intuitions were right, that knight is in trouble and that there has to be a way to punish white for leaving the knight. But what is that winning move?
And then we play bishop f4, rook c2. I'm trying to figure out where the win is in that position. There. Gosh, it's so hard. Bishop d3. Okay, I'm just going to have to calculate in silence for a bit.
And so Daniel's calculating now. And it's not that calculating doesn't happen at the highest levels. It certainly does. But Stuart Dreyfus argues calculating happens less at the expert levels than you might think. For the most part, experts both know what to do and how to do it, more or less spontaneously. So Daniel actually, I think, is modeling here competent, proficient, but not expert level thinking here. He knows that there's some winning idea. He just doesn't know what the idea is. Whereas an expert might not completely know what the winning idea is, but they know what the next move is. So he's doing a lot of calculating, in part because he has the time to calculate, but also he's really interested and wants to discover the winning move. But that's not actually stopping him from winning the game, as we'll see.
Because frick, rook c1 played. We're so close to being winning here. Bishop f4, rook c2. Queen takes c3 almost works, but it doesn't. Bishop f4, rook c2. Takes there. 4, rook c2, bishop e5, no. Bishop e4, rook c2, bishop e4 maybe. Oh my god, that's a crazy idea, but it doesn't work. Knight d1. Huh. Let's think. So if we sack the exchange, he takes it. This is one of the richest games we played in the speedrun. Okay, let's start with bishop f4. This has...
I love that phrase. It's one of the richest games we played in the speedrun. He's really appreciating sort of the wide possibility space here. Something that Dreyfus points out that I think is a subtle but important point is intuitively we might think that as you grow in your expertise, you grow more detached from the context because things are more solved. But in actuality, it's often the opposite, that as you grow in expertise, your involvement grows deeper. Certainly the case in chess, and as we'll see in even the next video, to a larger extent, Daniel's getting more emotive. He's having the highs and lows of
has to be the move.
Process.
This must be the move.
So he doesn't actually know that.
And then
this
we
is
move. We just need to find one more winning move. I just can't seem to.
He's trying simultaneously to move forwards and backwards, but step by step he knows the move to make. He just isn't quite sure where it leads yet.
Figure it out after bishop 4, rook c2. Just can't seem to figure out the winning move there, and we have no time. Maybe it's bishop e4, but then he has knight e1. Okay, maybe it's a simple move. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna play a very subtle move, bishop f5. I want to play bishop f5. I'm sure there's a win now. There's no question that there's probably multiple wins, but I cannot find them.
Nothing has actually changed in the game from when we started. He's just increasingly sure that there's a win as the series
you'll see what the
unfolds.
point is in a second. So the point of this move is to set up a tactic. And the tactic that I'm trying to set up is rook takes f3, gf and queen g6 check to fork the king and the rook on c2. So that when we take the rook, the bishop is defended. But the other thing I was calculating here is what happens after knight e1. And there I calculated the following line. So if the knight drops back to e1, we drop our rook back to d8. Then we open up an attack on the rook on e2. That rook on c2 has only one square. Sorry, I said e2. It has to go to e2 from c2. Then in that position, we drop our other bishop from f4 to e5 in order to pin the knight. And after rook e3, I think we have rook d1. But I'm not totally positive that that's the win. It might not be the right approach, by the way. Damn it, he finds it. Rook d1, bishop d... Ah! No, we have a simpler win, though, I think. No, I think we have a... Oh, no, we...
This is maybe the third or fourth time Danya's said there's a simpler move here, and it's really interesting to see him simultaneously contend with complexity, with lines, with explorations, with sort of the repeated hard trump of this is simple. From the beginning, he's known that somehow the knight is pinned, and there has to be a simple way to punish white for it.
Oh, no, we don't, because the knight defends. Ugh. Bishop e5, rook e3, bishop d4, rook d3, queen e5. This is amazing defense. Rook e2. Bishop e5, rook e3, rook c8. No, we simply have rook c8. No, this is winning. I think that's it. Bishop e5, rook e3, defending the knight, and then just rook d8 to c8. And we win the knight on c3. Don't do anything tactical. We just go after the pinned knight. Bang. Bang. It's as simple as that. And often these simple moves are the ones that are hardest to see. You just...
And so that's the lesson of this clip, that oftentimes that the simplest moves are the hardest ones to see. And if he were just playing without reflecting in this way, he would have just found it. But here he really modeled that approach of, I know this is winning, I just don't know what to do yet. And to figure out, to decide what to do, I'm going to go through this sort of calculating process that did ultimately find the solution. It was just a deceivingly simple one.
Just attack the knight another time, and I don't think... And the thing is, even if he takes on e5, we take back and the knights are actually forked. So white can't even get an exchange for this. White literally loses the knight on c3, and then it should be easy.
Okay, let's watch this last one, which is much shorter. And here he's playing an event called Titled Tuesday on chess. So he's playing titled players, although this is not a player nearly as strong as he is. And this is an example of expert reflecting.
Be a smidge better. Smidge Maisel. Let's play the Giannatos French. I could play c3 actually here, but no, the move is here. This is all theory.
So something really interesting about chess at the highest level is theory plays an incredibly important, that is to say, memorizing lines and playing essentially automatically from rote memory is a huge part of the beginning and the ending of the game. And so to this point, everything Danya has done is more or less automatic and sort of...
This is all I know. Now I'm out of book.
Out of book means his familiarity with the theory has ended, and now he's going to have to play using a different mode.
White's supposed to be a smidge better.
White's supposed to be a smidge better. That's something that is a reasonably modern thing to think, in the sense that only now machines are able to tell us actually who has a winning position in situations like this.
Smidge Maisel. I don't love my position.
That sort of metacognition, that evaluation on the fly.
Okay, but g5 I think is weakening.
And then suddenly he smells danger on black side. g5 is weakening.
Maybe I can throw in h3. Okay, let's just throw in this move just for some luft.
Luft is like space for the king to maneuver.
F8. Crap, I don't have any tactics on the king's side. God, he really knows what he's doing here, doesn't he? Okay, please go.
Notice he's excited. He said, I don't have any tactics on the king side, and then he realized he does have a tactic, and here it is.
King G7. Oh! Oh, this is sexy. Check! This wins on the spot. Oh, yes. Wins a piece. Oh, man.
So that kind of enthusiasm, it will be familiar to many chess players, and it doesn't go away at expert levels. On the other hand, on the contrary, you'll see Danya and other expert players smash their keyboards and webcams, and so things don't go well.
Okay, now let's not screw this up. Oh my god, that was sexy. I had a game in the US Championship against Holt where I missed this exact idea, so that's how I knew about it.
And so that piece really points to the way that grandmasters play, which is they lean on this massive repertoire of not just games, but sort of board positions, and are able to see any situation as one of these situations that they were in before. And because of his analysis and reflection on a previous game, he, in this one, not to miss that chance. So you can probably get some sense of the enjoyment and satisfaction that one gets at that shot. And that mode of working, drawing on repertoire, maybe seems similar to the way that AI AlphaZero might play chess, but it's actually quite different because the Danya has a repertoire of positions and games and board configurations in his head that he pulls on. And so he's able to see this game as similar to that game, that US Championship game. AlphaZero works at a more granular, more decontextualized level, specifically like for this position, what are the moves that have been made in that position? So its basic unit of information is like the next move, whereas Danya's is a little bit more contextual. It's like what tactic do I wish I had have played when the board looked somewhat like this one? Okay, so I think we're ready to make some preliminary comments on what we've just experienced and lots more to come. I want to talk about what is this new modality we're looking at, why is this modality emerging now, and what does it mean to teach effectively, to wield this modality effectively. So what is this modality? I'm by no means the first to discuss the power of live streaming, and people have taken a few stabs at naming the pedagogical impact here. I'll take my stab, which is I think what we're looking at is a remote apprenticeship at scale. So just breaking that down, we are essentially apprentices to Danya, but we're doing it remotely. That is to say, rather than being with him, we're able to engage with him through the power of the internet. And it's an apprenticeship at scale, which means rather than a one-to-one or even a one-to-many intimate cohort where we can have a relationship with Danya, this remote apprenticeship at scale, in its most realized form, doesn't need Danya to do anything other than what he would normally be doing. That is to say, he plays chess, he reflects out loud, and many people benefit. Of course, there's a gradient, right? And even Danya himself maybe has a Patreon or streams and has a chat. You don't have to take it to its fullest conclusion. You can have lightweight interactions between the apprentices and the practitioner, but that's actually not necessary. And I'm interested in how fully apprenticeships at scale can scale. So remote apprenticeships at scale is what we're talking about. Why are these emerging now? It's a confluence of things. So one, of course, is the streaming technology itself, Twitch, YouTube, etc. The other is the economic incentives associated with that, creator economy, Patreon, some Web3 stuff in there as well. And then finally, and probably most interestingly to me, is the advent of AI and automation in rendering craft more legible. And we'll talk a lot more about that some other time, but just notice how legible chess already is to the digital medium. You don't need the background context, you just throw the chessboard up there. It's extremely well structured and parsable by AI. And then chess.com has a whole bunch of tooling that lets you draw arrows and illuminate squares, etc. There's a lot already happening to make chess legible to apprentices. Contrast that with something like the craft of running meetings at work, and you'll start to get a sense of kind of the emerging domains that I'm interested in. And then finally, what does it mean to use this domain effectively? Just because we can have remote apprenticeships at scale doesn't mean they're just going to magically work. What is it about Danya that makes him such a great teacher in this modality? And I think there's a lot to say, but I'll just make a few observations. One is Danya is incredible at making every situation alive, no matter how rote it is for him. That is, he fully embodies the mindset of someone at various skill levels. As we saw, he engaged the first situation as a competent chess player, the second situation as a proficient chess player, and the third as an expert chess player. In the first case, he reasoned out loud about what he was noticing on the chessboard, white squares being weak, the desire to have a bishop pair, noticing that the queenside pawn structure might get compromised. In the middle case, he knew that he had a winning position, just intuitively, but he didn't know how to get there. He didn't know what moves he needed to make. And so to do that, he did a lot of decision-making and calculating, characteristic of a proficient level. And at the expert level, he sort of spontaneously made moves, pulling on a repertoire of boards that he was familiar with. He deployed theory automatically, and then he recalled a game that was just like this one, where he actually didn't make the best move, and this time he corrected that error. So what I'm hoping as we reach the end of this video is that you've got some sense of the potential of remote apprenticeships at scale from Danya. You maybe have some belief that we are seeing the emergence of a really powerful new learning modality. And so the work that I'm really excited about doing is spreading that modality across more domains. And to do that, we need to do two things. We need to understand and create the conditions for that modality that we were talking about before, the economic incentives, the tech requirements, and also the legibility, deploying AI and automation to make other domains as legible as chess is today or programming is today. And then the other thing to do is to understand this metacraft, the craft of being a reflective practitioner, like Danya is, and enabling experts to become effective reflective practitioners. So to be continued.